Hey everybody, I know it's been, I don't even remember how long it has been since I last made a video, but in any case, it's good to see you guys. It's been approximately a month, but this time it will be a serious video, because I haven't done a serious video in about 5 months. It's been a minute. Anyway, so I wanted to make fun of this article from The View because, well, very rarely do they ever have anything, intelligent to say. And because, well, Whoopi Goldberg generally says very ridiculous things. Her comments on the Holocaust were just ridiculous. The View host Whoopi Goldberg lays into conservative panelist Alyssa Farah Griffin over abortion and states' rights. Quote, "To hell with the states," she says. The levity of Joy Behar's blazer, I'm not certain if that's how you pronounce her last name, so my bad if I mispronounce it. Pink blazer from earlier in the week is gone and the anger is back at The View. Of course, the argument involves Alyssa Farah Griffin, the topic where states' rights come into play regarding abortion. According to Decider, the panel talked about Senator Lindsey Graham's bizarre call, quote-unquote bizarre, call for a federal ban on abortion at 15 weeks, which most people actually do support. It's just that Roe v. Wade wouldn't allow a 15-week ban. During my days before I actually got informed and realized the pro-choice position is just akin to supporting manslaughter, a 15-week ban would have been as far as I'd be willing to compromise with the pro-life side. But now, knowing the truth, if you can't ban it outright, at minimum it should be 15 weeks, if we can't go any further. But banning it outright would be fair, with the exception of the life of the mother. If we can save them both, let's do that. Griffin tried to assert that the state should be the ones to decide these types of restrictions and called Graham's actions completely rogue, which I don't agree. I thought what he did was very based. How about let women make that decision? To hell with the states, Goldberg said in response. It's not your decision to make because it's not your body. Your baby is not your body. By your logic, if you're in a car and you put your seatbelt on, you're not a part of the car. Sunny Hostin, and I'm going to assume that every woman on the panel, with the exception of Alyssa Farah Griffin, I'm going to assume that all of them voted for Joe Biden. Sunny Hostin also talked about how the states' rights argument doesn't hold water. She said, arguing for states to decide big issues, quote, really worked out for the rest of the country because states' rights mean black kids and white kids went to different schools, and states' rights meant that black people couldn't marry white people. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of states' rights because in terms of gun policy, I don't believe the feds or the states should be able to decide. I am pretty much a Second Amendment absolutist. As for abortion, I wouldn't favor letting the states decide because it's murder. Murder, and before people say, well, the law doesn't call it murder in plenty of states, well, there are plenty of states where it would be murder. If I bring up my home state, if you, the viewer, physically assaulted a pregnant woman and her baby died, you'd be charged with aggravated murder. Or if you killed her and the baby, you'd be charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder, which can get you a possible death sentence. I don't favor the death penalty. And I also don't believe the states should be able to decide if gays or black people or interracial couples get married. I don't believe they should be able to decide that. I'm of the viewpoint that, and no pun intended, I'm of the viewpoint that the states, that if a state were to ban or outlaw same-sex or interracial marriage, which I don't believe the interracial marriage thing would ever be banned, but I wouldn't be surprised if various states would want to ban gay marriage. If they banned either gay marriage and or same-sex marriage, they would lose access to all federal dollars until they would, reverse themselves. If they have the right to decide those things, they don't have the right to have certain federal dollars. She added the argument doesn't work because it assumes people will be good and do the right thing. That doesn't necessarily happen with your party, Hostin told Griffin. Griffin responded, is there not really any more direct representation than your state representatives? You elect them to represent your viewpoints. Goldberg, of course, had the last say, countering Griffin's point by implying that state representatives did take part in limiting states' rights. Quote, we did vote, and they did, and they made a law. And now y'all went around and decided because your religious fervor got you crazy. Listen, I believe in life. I'm not anti-life. I've never been anti-life. I'm anti-people putting their fingers in other people's business. I'm incensed that this is something that people really thought they should do without doing the homework and finding out what it means. I'm going to say this. Pro-choice people are anti-life. They are pro-aggravated murder, and I will call abortion aggravated murder because it involves dismemberment. It is atrocious. It is grossly inhumane. No, pro-abortion people are anti-life. Whoopi Goldberg has clearly been anti-life. And it's funny that she says she's not in favor of putting her fingers in other people's business, yet she probably supports gun control, probably was for the vax mandates and the passports. I don't know if she was. But considering how people like her are, being liberals, she probably probably did support those things. But if she didn't, then my bad. Griffin tried to counter with an argument about how for some, the debate is ethical, moral, and scientific in nature, not just spiritual. Now, I forgot to mention this as well. Opposing abortion isn't a religious thing. Yeah, there are Christians who oppose abortion, various religious groups that oppose abortion. And sadly, there are said religious groups that also are pro-abortion. You can't just argue that every single person who's against abortion, whether it be leaning against or decisively against, you can't argue that every last one of them is some right-wing Christian nationalist Republican who probably would vote for Donald Trump 3 times in a single general election. I mean, I know 2 people in my family who were staunch MAGA people, but pro-abortion. I could have sworn that I was going to see a unicorn fall out of the sky because I just couldn't fathom that those kinds of people exist. And by the way, 20% of pro-abortion people voted for Donald Trump in 2020, and I think even in 2016. But Goldberg again asked them, why are we letting the federal government or our state governments decide? All I can say to that is, the feds and the state governments shouldn't be able to decide. A national right to life amendment should be put in place. Provides that, federally speaking, every pro-abortion constitution in the states would be overturned, and they would have to pass legislation criminalizing it. Otherwise, they would be removed from office for that. My right to life amendment would provide that there is no right to an abortion under any constitution, under the U.S. Constitution, and that no such rights would exist under any state constitution. The penalty for a doctor providing an abortion would be a minimum of 25 years to life in prison to a maximum of life without parole. And if they've performed more than one abortion, because we know they have always performed more than one, they would be given an additional term, whether it be 25 to life or life without parole, and it would be stacked consecutively, not concurrently. That a woman who seeks an abortion, the minimum term would be 15 years to life, anywhere from 15 to 25 years to life without parole. Because seeking an abortion is no different than hiring someone to assassinate someone you don't like. And the funny thing is that people talk about how a baby's brain has to be, it's not fully developed in the uterus. It takes a very long time for a person's brain to fully develop. By that logic, post-birth abortions is what they'd be okay with. And then they'll say, well, of course not. No, that's not what I'm saying. Well, that is actually what you said, unless you want to find some other metric to justify your position that wouldn't allow someone to take that and kill someone who's already been born. Anyway, that'll be all for now. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below, and like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Until next time.